two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies, and you know they are really groovy. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal talking about movies. Two guys and a gal, they're talking about movies, and we know they are really groovy.
I feel like this theme song is more apropos tonight than ever because we are talking about James Bond, but not just any Bond, James Bond, but the Roger Moore James Bond. And we want to hear from you guys who your favorite Bond is and what you think about Roger Moore as James Bond, because tonight is all about Roger Moore. And whether you think he was the best Bond ever or the worst Bond ever, we want you to weigh in. Of course, he was Bond during some of the most iconic movies of James Bond. So I think you're going to be very familiar with some of the titles of these movies and some of these movies themselves and their effect on pop culture. It's all the stuff that we always are talking about, but you are going to be guided on your journey about Roger Moore with your two guys who are aficionados. They are experts. They know everything. They have encyclopedic knowledge bases that just continually expand and astound. It's basically like you're getting your MFA in film studies by watching these two go at it. So let's bring them up. This is Manny Zamora and Rory Penland. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
And it was supposed to be Denzel this week, but we went.
It was going to be Denzel, but then it was like, oh my God, I got to watch 40 movies before, over the weekend. Because you know me, I like to give honorable mentions to the ones, that have got good stuff in them. I mean, we probably will pick 5 that are similar for Denzel, but he has such a body of work, and it's all got high
I thought you
ratings.
were going to just stop at body. I thought you were going to object. Because I was supposed, because if we were going to do Denzel, I was going to bring the shirtless still from one of his many shirtless movies.
That'll be next week.
That's your job, Renee.
That'll be next week.
My job. But Manny was asking for me. He was like, do you got any of those Denzel shirtless?
Hey, I'm very secure in my masculinity, so
I think
he's no plumber or handyman, but hey.
No.
Well, he didn't flash the ass crack, but I will say that's what really happened is that Rory started to watch the Denzel movies, and then he found himself becoming so distracted by Denzel's body of work that he said, look, I've got to have some more time to inspect our subject. That's what happened.
Woo,
That's what happened.
It's going to take me a lot longer to watch these movies.
Denzel. You turned into a Southern belle, too, when you said that. You turned into Blanche Devereaux.
I got the vapors.
Oh.
Yeah, you turned into Blanche.
So I asked Manny to give me another week because that's just a lot. And
it's a
one
lot.
of the things I do know backwards and forwards is James Bond. That and Godzilla and the Green Hornet were the 3 things when I was younger that I just loved. And again, I know everything backwards and forwards on these things. And Roger Moore was the Bond that made me a Bond fan.
Right. So tell me, so guys, when you think Roger Moore as James Bond, what is his brand of Bond? What does he bring to the table that no one else does?
Brown hair.
Which you can't tell in the black and white, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
He brought a little humor to Bond that wasn't. I mean, there was humor in the Connery films beforehand, and even in the Lazenby film. I mean, even Lazenby starts out by saying, "This never happened to the other fellow," So, but Moore just gave it. It was more whimsical.
More whimsical, yes.
Yeah, with his films.
More, right. Yeah. What about you, Manny? What do you think?
There was definitely a shift in tone from Connery to Roger Moore. A little bit like Rory just said, a little more humor, a little more tongue-in-cheek. And, it was kind of good and bad about that. Some of the stories, it started to get a little silly. And we'll probably talk about that as we go through the different movies. But yeah, a very definite change of tone. Of course, it was now the 70s and early 80s when Moore did his during his era, and he holds the record for the most Bond movies. He did 7 of them altogether,
Hmm.
which is more than anyone else has done to date. Uh, Connery kind of comes in second with 6,
Yeah.
and then Daniel Craig with 5. So that's pretty much the order
Yeah.
as far as Bond's concerned. Of course, George Lazenby comes in last with just one take in it,
One.
which I feel was kind of a shame. I think he should have had an opportunity to grow into the role, but they were like,
Yes.
nah, one and
I agree
done.
with you. I totally agree with you. Most Bond fans agree with you that he should have been given a second shot.
Yeah,
Yeah, at
but
least, at the very
at
least.
least, at the very least, I mean, if Timothy Dalton got 2, then Lazenby should have gotten at least 2 or 3.
And again,
To really,
it's unfortunately, they signed Dalton to do more pictures, but by the time they got to the third picture, the contract ran out, and he decided he just didn't want to do it anymore.
yeah, yeah,
So I mean, if you read the Bond books, he's actually kind of the closest one to. I mean, he did his homework. He read the books
yeah,
to Bond in the books.
yeah, yeah.
Connery being the first. Actually, Fleming wasn't sure about it at first, but then he ended up in one of his last books that he wrote, or stories he wrote. He wrote a Scottish ancestry in the book for Bond, so that it worked.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was like, oh, okay, he's got some Scots in him. So, my name is Bond, James Bond. My
Yeah.
name is Bond.
And then what are these photos? So Rory was sending me these photos. Let's just go through a little slideshow here. This is a little small, but
yeah,
let's see. This is a little bit like, what do you see here? Okay, so you see
like Bond, like Bond about to looks like he's about to take on some bikers.
is he about to take
Oh,
on
okay.
some-
Yeah, that's from Cannonball Run. Yeah, where he plays Seymour Goldfarb, who's a guy who thinks he's Roger Moore.
What's that name? What did you say?
His name is Seymour
Which funny?
Goldfarb. That's his character.
Really?
And he thinks he wants to be Roger Moore is what it is. So he's had plastic surgery done to his face,
Okay.
and he runs around acting like he's Roger Moore.
Okay.
And that's the gag in the film. We all know it really is Roger Moore, but he's playing a guy who wants to be Roger Moore, and that's really funny.
Okay, that's
very
hilarious.
funny.
That is hilarious. Okay.
So we'll talk about that a little later on. But yeah,
Okay,
he's up against a biker there.
Right. Okay, hold on. I have a different screen I want to.
And he actually warns the biker, I'm Roger Moore.
He actually.
I think I should warn you, I'm Roger Moore. And the guy goes, what? I'm Roger Moore.
That's
He leaves it and say it a
fantastic.
second time, and then he gets clocked.
That is fantastic.
There we go. And then we got the Elvis sunglasses here and the powder blue tuxedos. he's making fun of himself. He's trying too hard here, this character, and it's hysterical to me. I think it's just really funny.
That is just great. Okay. Anyways, carry on.
Trying to keep the paparazzi to a minimum. There's a couple people with one of those old wind-up cameras, the little disposable cameras, taking pictures. And he's like, please keep the paparazzi to a minimum. But he's rich. He's rich. His parents run a girdle factory, so he's got an Aston Martin. He's always got a different girl on his arm. He's got different tuxedos. The Aston Martin has smoke screen and all the gadgets and stuff. The flipping license plate and everything. I mean, so it's really funny.
And then so then who's this? What are we looking at here?
That's Cannonball Run again.
Right. And then I don't know if you can see this, they're a little small, but
okay, that's from My Dinner with Hervé, which is a movie about Hervé Villechaize, who played Knick Knack in Man with the Golden Gun. There he is, and help me out here, Manny. The Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage is playing Hervé there.
Oh, Peter Dinklage.
It does a really good job of impersonating the voice of Hervé. And there's a British actor playing Roger Moore there.
Yeah. I never heard of that. My Dinner with Hervé.
My Dinner with Hervé. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's about a reporter who gets the last interview with Hervé.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's he goes over his life, and Man with the Golden Gun was his breakthrough. His parents never respected him, for being an actor until he did that, and then they loved it.
wow. Really? They
That's
didn't like
interesting.
his turn on Fantasy Island? The plane, boss, the plane.
They don't say anything about what the parents thought of Fantasy Island.
I love
They show
Fantasy Island.
the premiere, him in the audience and Roger Moore in
Mm.
the audience of the premiere, and they're watching the movie, and his parents are like a row or two behind him, and they're like, this is great,
Mm.
so that's a high point in his life.
Interesting. All right.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, Manny, let's start with number one. I know, a lot of these are really famous, so it's going to be really hard to pick one over like so many. But what
Oh,
got
yeah.
the top ranking for you, Manny?
All right. For my number one, I chose The Spy Who Loved Me.
As did
Uh,
I. That was my
this
number
was
one as well, and it's one of the silliest ones in the canon.
Yeah, but well, I don't know. I don't know about that. But okay. This one, of course, we have well, Roger Moore, obviously, and Barbara Bach as his kind of
Agent
rival.
Triple X, Major
Agent Triple X.
Asimova.
Yeah. And Kurt Jurgens as the villain, as
Stromberg.
as yeah, who has built this this underwater city. He just thinks life on land, it's just gotten too corrupt or whatever, and he wants to build this um, perfect society in under the sea. And so he rebuilds Atlantis as this very cool structure, and it's got everything that you want in a Bond movie. You got the girls, you've got the great villain, you got the lair,
He is
beautifully.
a great villain. Kurt
Yeah,
Jurgens. We talked about Kurt Jurgens a week or so ago when we were talking about submarine movies.
right. Yeah, he was
German
the
actor, and he was
exactly.
really an interesting, great villain in this.
Yeah, Stromberg. Um, what was I going to say? Oh, well, the lair designed by the brilliant Ken Adams, who
Mm-hmm.
never or hardly ever disappoints with his designs. It's got all his trademarks, the cantilever walls, and the metal, and it's
The
just
lair, yeah, is
beautiful.
actually inside a tanker, or supposedly a tanker ship. And it can
Right?
hold
Yeah.
3 submarines. And this
Yeah.
movie was where they built what's called now the 007 stage, which is the
Right. They built a
largest sound
large.
stage
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
London, or in
Yeah.
England.
Yeah. In the part of Pinewood Studios. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They built that stage to hold all that. Have the special tank for the submarine pen and all that inside the
Mm-hmm.
supposedly this oil tanker or whatever it was. And yeah, it's just and oh, and of course, special mention to my to one of my one of my many crushes. Of course, Carolyn Monroe
Richard Keel.
and well, that's my other crush. Yeah, Richard Keel as Jaws. With the metal teeth, and this is his first appearance as Jaws.
Right.
Where he's just this silent killer, just going through, and he bites people, just tears out their,
Rips through their jugular.
rips through their jugular,
and bite through chains with those teeth.
Exactly, and he's
He is
undone by a magnet.
He is a great like Odd Job. What do we
Yeah, like
not sidekick. That's what's coming into my mind, but that's not right.
Yeah,
Henchman.
like
he
henchman,
is the best henchman to come along since Odd Job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
and of course they had to throw in there's this great scene where Jaws actually fights a shark. So it's Jaws versus Jaws.
yes.
Get it? And that's the level of humor
77.
we're dealing with.
That's what everybody was talking about. So
exactly. so that was cute. It was a good little visual gag if you got that. Um, but yeah, and of course there's the requisite blowing up of the of the lair.
Yes.
Uh, um, so yeah, you know and they kept the gadgets to a minimum. Uh, but
Oh,
we do get the cool Lotus Esprit who that
right.
doubles as a submarine
Correct.
or submersible. You get the water bike, kind of
Yeah.
Esprit sort of
The wet bike,
pre
which was
pre
actually
jet.
on the market at that time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing about the Moore bonds is they really well. It was also the era where they did blatant product placement. uh, I guess somebody had to pay for all these movies. Uh,
Well, and
and
again, when you look back
but
at
they
the
got all the
Connery
latest.
films, that's where the whole Aston Martin and the Rolex watches, that's where that started. So I
Yeah,
mean, they did
yeah,
it back in the early days too.
yeah. But I feel like this era really kind of
Lazenby
ramped
picks
it
up
up.
a copy of Playboy and looks at the centerfold.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, um, so yeah, so that was my number one, Spy Who Loved Me,
My
starred
number
Roger
one as
Moore.
well. Um, yeah, Barbara Bach is just wonderful in that as Agent Triple X, and again, you got Jaws. Chris Wood really hit home. This was the one that actually initiated me into the world of Bond. This
Mhm.
one I saw in the movie theaters. I was 13 years old. It's the first movie I've ever seen twice in an afternoon. I went back and saw it a second time the same day I saw it. I thought it was so cool, and just loved it from beginning to end. And again, it made a huge fan out of me. Ever since after that, I started looking for other Bond films. Anytime a Bond film would go on TV, I'd watch it. And eventually, we got VCRs, and I was able to watch some of the other Bond films, Diamonds Are Forever, Man with a Golden Gun.
Mhm.
Uh, and yeah, so this was the one that got me hooked into Bond. And again, Roger Moore was the Bond I grew up with, really.
Yeah, yeah.
So he in many cases, Connery's my favorite, but in many cases, Moore is he's the Bond that they grew up with. He's the Bond
Mhm.
they know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I started a little bit earlier, not by
Mhm.
much. I mean, I started with Live and Let Die. It was my
Mhm.
first
Yeah.
uh, Bond at the theater, and then caught the Connery Bonds later on TV. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I started with Live and Let Die. So I got in right at the beginning with Roger Moore.
There you go.
Um, and we'll talk about that one in a little bit. Okay.
So, and
So
Barbara Bach
number
went on to be Ringo Starr's wife.
right. And so I was thinking, I was watching it and like, how did Ringo Starr score Barbara Bach? I
She
mean,
married the Beatle.
yeah, exactly. I caught myself lucky every single day. Oh, it was terrible. Uh, yeah,
Again, he
yeah.
did a concert a couple of years ago, Ringo Starr and his all-star band, and
Hmm.
they were doing some video, and they showed her backstage, and she still looks great. She looks fantastic.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and she's a good wife, good mother. They got kids, and she gave up the Hollywood business. I mean, she only did a couple of other movies. She did Force 10 from Navarone and some others, but
yeah,
she decided to be Miss Ringo Starr.
yeah, yeah. And the other thing I like about Spy Who Loved Me, compared to some of the other movies, is that Barbara Bach, her character, and I guess I don't know, maybe because she's playing a Russian or whatever, but she doesn't come across as just your typical sort of Bond girl, the helpless damsel, and just sort of the eye
Right.
candy. I mean, she has a character, and then she's
She's his
tough.
equal
She's his
in the
equal. Yeah,
Kremlin.
yeah,
Yeah, major triple X, and she's goes through the film holding a huge grudge because he killed her lover.
Right.
in the
Yeah.
opening scene where he's skiing and he skis off the side of the mountain and
Yeah.
the Union Jack parachute opens up. Da-da-da.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I'd say, and that's another reason why I picked this movie, because it probably had one of the best ski sequences. There's something about Bond and putting him out on skis or on the
Yeah.
ice or whatever. I mean, it just seems like there's got to be at least one. And there's another movie
Well, that
where
was the
he
thing.
also
Connery
skis.
never did the ski stuff. It was Lazenby did
No.
it first,
Yeah.
and
Lazenby did it.
Moore
Yeah.
did it in 3 films,
Yeah.
starting with
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
But
yeah,
I
this
feel
one's
like
got
this is
ski
probably
and
the
it's
best.
got underwater, which was Thunderball. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I want to say it was the writer's name is Chris Wood.
I think
He
so.
he crafted a really good Bond film that had just about everything in it. And then when they
Hmm.
came time to do Moonraker, the next film, they gave it to him again, and it was a complete and total rehash. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
we're not underwater, we're in space now. But same
Yeah.
kind of villain, Jaws is back. You know, it was just a rehash.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he didn't come back again after that.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. We'll talk about Moonraker a little bit later.
Okay. What's your
If
number
that,
2?
all right. So my number 2 is For Your Eyes Only.
Okay.
Uh,
That was they were trying to get back to what the gritty Bond of before, before the the Moonrakers and the Spy Who Loved Me's. They didn't want to do a lot of gadgets and stuff in this one. They wanted him to use his brains. And the silliest thing about it is the opening sequence where he uh, where he's trapped in a helicopter run by wink, wink, nudge, nudge, somebody. We know who it is. They
yeah.
couldn't say the name at that time because the name was still tied up in litigation, but it was Blofeld. And
Yeah.
in this case, it was the end of Blofeld in this movie.
Yeah.
I totally get this being number 2 on your list. It was tough for me to pick the number 2 that I picked over this one because, again, there's a lot of good stuff going on in this film. I do miss M. That's one thing that I did miss. They
Yeah.
had a
That's the only thing.
replacement
Yeah.
for M because Bernard Lee had passed.
Right.
So it was Bill Tanner, the Minister of Defense, and Bill Tanner, the Chief of Staff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just. Yeah. But we still had Q. We still had
Yeah, we
Desmond
had
Llewellyn
Q,
as
and we had Miss
Q
Moneypenny,
and Lois
and
Maxwell as Moneypenny.
it's one
And
of
they
the
were
times.
all showing their age.
and Jeremy Bullock actually plays Q's assistant in this
Mhm.
one. I think this was the first time he did. Actually, he did it in this one, and he did it in Octopussy. I think that's it. I think no. No. I
Well,
think those 2 films. And Jeremy
Yeah.
Bullock, of course, is Boba Fett in the Star
Boba
Wars
Fett.
movies.
Yeah.
In the early Star Wars movies, and
Right.
so that was an interesting little character. So I was surprised he didn't take over for Q, but if you can get a Monty Python cast member to join, take
Yeah.
over for Q, go with it. You got to go with it.
Right. Yeah. And so, but yeah, and the Bond girl this time is her name is Carolyn Bouquet,
Mm.
and arguably probably one of the most beautiful
Yes,
Bond girls
yes,
ever.
she is
I mean,
very
just
beautiful.
absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And you got Julianne Glover and
Mhm.
Topol as rival Greek. One's supposed to be the villain. There's the whole mystery of who the real villain is, and then of course you get the reveal that is actually Julianne
Right.
Glover's character. And Lynn Holly Johnson as the very precocious gymnast.
You put your clothes on,
Skater.
and I'll buy you an ice cream. Great line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's just totally it's an awkward situation.
Yeah.
Also, Cassandra Harris was in this film.
Yes.
She
Yes.
at the time was Pierce Brosnan's wife. She unfortunately died of cancer a few years
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
Devastated him. But she is responsible for him having dinners with Cubby Broccoli and his daughter and Michael G. Wilson, her husband, who was the executive producer at the time. He's the one that really kept the Bond films going with his executive power.
Right. Yeah.
And they wanted Brosnan to take over for Mora as Bond when he was done, when he was said, all right, that's it, that's enough. And unfortunately, because he was on
Remington
American
Steele.
television is Remington Steele, he couldn't do it right
Yeah,
away.
he was still under contract.
So that's
with that,
how Dalton got picked and put in, and then for 2 pictures, and then Brosnan was freed up and he was able to do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. So now, originally, originally, For Your Eyes Only was supposed to follow The Spy Who Loved Me. In fact, it even says at the end, it's James Bond will return. But for some reason, well, they wanted to cash in on Star Wars.
They wanted to cash in on Star Wars and Star Trek.
And Star Trek. And so they moved.
Star Trek
Moonraker.
wanted to cash in on Star Wars, and Moonraker wanted to cash in on Star Trek and Star Wars.
Right. So they moved that one. they just switched it around. But then Moonraker just kind of was such a critical bomb. It still made money, but everybody's like, yeah, well, because again, like you said, it was basically a repeat of The Spy Who Loved Me or a rehash. And they said, okay, maybe we went too far with the gadgets and all the, and the space thing. And so they thought, well, let's bring it back down to what it was originally. And that's why they made For Your Eyes Only.
For Your Eyes Only, yeah.
Which really was the better movie. And I love, they blew up the car, and then he has to drive this little this little buggy almost, the Citroen, which is just a fun little chase scene.
Yes, agreed.
And but again, you still, you get the another underwater adventure as well. The
guy who broke the windshield on the Lotus Esprit, by the way, was stuntman Bob Simmons, who. I mean, the dummy was what got blown up, but he's obviously a dummy that's getting blown up there. But Simmons was a stuntman from the very first Bond film.
Wow.
His most impressive thing that he did was he fought Sean Connery in the very beginning of Thunderball, when Connery kills him. He's dressed as a lady, and Connery realizes it's not really a lady.
It's a man, baby.
It's a man, baby.
Which is where they got that from.
Spectre Agent Duval.
Yeah.
So he kills Duval and escapes in a jetpack, which again was the science of the time. So they wanted to show cool stuff that was.
And just a little trivia. Again, going back to Spy Who Loved Me, the young man who played Dr. Vesalius' son in Dr. Phibes, which General Howitzer covered just a week ago. He had a small part in The Spy Who Loved Me. He was one of the officers, or not one of the crewmen on the British sub. Yeah, so he was in it. He had just a little a bit part in that. I just thought I'd mention that.
You just reminded me that Jeremy Bulloch was also one of the crew members.
That's right. Yeah.
In that. And Shane Rimmer was one of the captains of the ship in that, and he was in You Only Live Twice. He played a character in that, one of the space guy from like Houston or something.
Yes. That's
so
right.
they like to use the same actor.
Yeah, they recycled a lot of the same actors. Yeah.
So the same actor will come in and play a different character. Charles Gray was in You Only Live Twice as Dicko Henderson. He gets killed like immediately. He's got like a 5-minute scene and then he gets stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
Literally. And then he shows up as Blofeld, in Diamonds Are Forever.
Right, yeah.
And then of course he's doing the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes.
With no neck.
Yeah. I could take you on a strange journey. Yeah.
It's just a jump to the left. I saw a video of Christopher Lee doing that the other
Really?
day, like
Oh.
just a couple of days ago on I think it was Instagram.
Christopher Lee doing the
Christopher
time warp?
Lee explaining the time warp like he's the narrator.
Yeah, maybe he played it on stage. 'Cause it was a
That I
stage
don't
show
know.
originally.
It looked like something that was just like shot in his house or something.
Oh. Christopher
But
Lee is just so freaking cool.
he is, and he was Ian Fleming's cousin. So that's how he got the part of Scaramanga.
Yeah.
That helped him, supposedly. All right, so yeah,
So
my
what was
number
your
two.
number?
My number two was Octopussy,
Okay.
just for the name alone.
That's so fun to say. Yeah.
That's my little Octopussy. There are so many riffs on the title of that movie from so many characters in that movie. I love it when Louis Jordan goes, Octopussy, Octopussy. um, this movie was just a lot of fun. Again, you had Louis Jordan, you had Cameron Beatty, who was a big actor in Bollywood. They brought him in to play the henchman, Gobinda.
Yeah.
You had
Maud
Maud
Adams.
Adams come back. She was the first actress to come back as another character she
Yeah.
was in Man with the Golden Gun. She was
Right,
very
yeah.
good in Man with the Golden Gun as Scaramanga's wife.
Yeah.
And then she turns up as Octopussy, the ringleader of the theft, the thieving circus.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That steals stuff. You had General Orlov, played by Steven Berkoff. I would be more concerned about how I'm going to get out of here alive. He's a great villain. He's in a lot of stuff, and he plays a great villain. He's in one of the Beverly Hills Cop films, and as the villain. He was in Outland with Sean Connery as a crazy miner guy that's freaking out. Just a whole bunch of great characters that he's played over the years.
Yeah.
Just a fun film. And again, you get to see Roger Moore dressed up as a clown. Renee, you got that picture? Renee hasn't talked a lot.
I don't have it. I don't have that picture, but I'll look for it. I'll get it. All right.
What is your favorite Roger Moore Bond film?
Octopussy. People call me Octopussy because I multitask. You know, that's actually my nickname. That's actually my nickname. So,
well, if it wasn't, it's gonna be.
If it wasn't, it's gonna catch like wildfire after this.
I know it.
Yeah, but that is my name because I multitask and I get a lot done and I have tentacles, you know. But anyways. It is.
That's why we never see her from the waist down.
No, you don't see the undulating. There's all these undulating.
like Ursula, just from.
Yeah, it is. But it is a fun film, and I never got that as a kid. Like people would when I was a kid, people would talk about it, and I just thought it sounded weird. But then I got to see it when I got older, and it was like, it's awesome, it's fun, it's entertaining. It's so to me, that's my favorite one.
I had a friend who was doing comedy when I was doing comedy early on when this film came out, and we called each other Mishka and Grishka for the longest time. Those are the two knife wielding. Yeah, Mishka and Grishka. They're the two knife throwing twins in the film. Diane, a friend of mine named Diane. I would call her Mishka, and she'd call me Grishka.
Oh, that's cute. I love that.
We had seen that movie together or something, and that stuck with us. So
I'm gonna start calling you that then. I think we just found your new name as well. I have the clown picture, and I'm gonna send it in like just a second. So at some point you'll just see it pop up on the thing. Let me do the
same costume that 009 wears at the beginning of the film when he takes the Fabergé egg and escapes with it, and to show that it's a fake Fabergé egg. And again, there's a lot of great stuff going on in this movie. The scene where they're bidding on the fake egg, or they're bidding on the real Fabergé egg because they need to get it back. The villains need to get it back because the other one was lost. Has Douglas Wilmer, another great character actor. He was in a couple of the Christopher Lee Fu Manchu movies as Nayland Smith. He was also in. He was the bad guy in Jason and the Argonauts. So I get just been a lot of stuff. Douglas
Wow.
Wilmer, and he plays the guy that Bond goes to the auction with, and then Bond bids on the egg. I would have claimed it was a fake. I
Oh, there,
switched
yep.
eggs when they weren't looking. There he is.
With his
Connery,
ever-
that's actually taken back behind the scenes because he's got a cigar in his mouth. Connery loves cigars. He really loves cigars. There's a lot of backstage photos of him on Live and Let Die smoking cigars, man.
yeah,
He loved the good Corona.
yeah. Well, he smoked cigar, yeah, in this, yeah, Spy Who Loved Me, yeah, Spy Who Loved Me. No, in Man with a Golden Gun, he's just smoking cigars like constantly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in character. So,
Hmm.
All
Well,
right,
I
so that
know,
was your
again,
number 2.
Roger Moore himself loved a good cigar. So does
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger. Schwarzenegger loves
Oh
cigars.
yeah.
So that was my number 2.
Okay.
And again, For Your Eyes Only was my number 3. We talked about For Your Eyes Only already.
Okay.
Louis
right.
Jordan has some great lines in the movie, several great lines as Kamal Khan.
Mhm.
The first one is when he wins it, of all things they're playing, a backgammon. Which is kind of a riff on the old playing the chemin de fer, the baccarat.
Yeah.
They're going to play backgammon. You need a 6. And then when Bond wins, he goes, spend the money quickly, Mr. Bond.
Yeah.
And then they do a riff on, or they do a take on the Most Dangerous Game, where he's hunting Bond.
Mhm.
And when Bond escapes, he gets away and he goes to a tourist, little tourist ship there. He swims out to it. He says, Mr. Bond is indeed a very rare breed, soon to be made extinct. And of course, get Bond.
Yeah.
So he's just chewing up the scenery. You could tell he was having a good time.
Oh yeah. All right. So my number 3 is A View to a Kill.
Really?
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
interesting. Please tell us why.
2 words. Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken is the only Bond villain to actually say, "You amuse me, Mr. Bond."
Yes. And also, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to do your Christopher Walken impression.
Thank you.
But the other, besides Walken, is Grace Jones. I loved her in this. I mean, yeah, it's not one of the better ones, but just the combination of them and her sort of switching alliances and becoming his helping him at the end. I thought that was great. And then you got Tanya Roberts. Oh, child, no. Only second, maybe, to Denise Richards as the most miscast Bond girl ever.
Yeah, her acting ability and style leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah. I mean,
So, yeah, you've
Well, now
got
I want to
Desmond
see it
Llewellyn.
though. Now I want to see what did she do? I've got to see it. What did she do?
She's just
yes.
It's hard to describe. It's just like her delivery is very flat. And she seems very weak. I mean, they did a lot of good stuff in like Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker and For Your Eyes Only to create strong female characters, and then she kills it all in one performance.
Yeah.
Oh, James!
She's just the stereotypical lady, damsel in distress. I mean, that's what she's there for.
Like over the top, hysterical.
She's the eye candy. Yeah. And really awesome.
She's a beautiful woman. She really is. But that performance just took women back into the Stone Age again, as far as female lead characters.
Okay.
But fortunately, like I said,
she's
balanced with Grace Jones, who
Grace
is
Jones
just
is a lot of fun.
awesome.
Roger Moore and Grace Jones had a lot of fun together making that film. And if you look carefully, Grace Jones picks up a Russian agent and throws him. That's actually her husband, Dolph Lundgren, in a very early performance.
Really? I
in
didn't
film.
even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was married to Dolph Lundgren at that time, and this was before Rocky. So it was one of his earliest performances in a movie.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm sorry. She didn't pick him up. She picked another guy up, but he's there. You can see him.
Oh,
He's
okay.
one of the Russian agents.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look out for that next time.
She picks up a smaller guy because he's pretty big.
Yeah.
So evidently he was on set and ended up getting a part as an extra, playing a Russian agent.
Yeah.
And that, of course, led to Ivan Drago.
Yeah. I must break you.
I will break you.
Yeah.
Now,
and also got to
one
mention
of the stars that Stallone really respects.
Oh,
says
yeah.
He's very intelligent, and he's tall, he's big, and,
I
great.
hate him. I hate him so long. Yeah.
So, I have great respect for him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The guy's like a physicist or something. I mean,
And that came out after He-Man. So,
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the whole scene at the San Francisco at the Golden Gate Bridge with the balloon and everything. I mean, as far as action sequences, it was pretty good.
it was interesting.
It was interesting.
It was different.
It's just a fun movie, but like I said, really, the only reason to really watch it is for Christopher Walken chewing. He pretty much chewing the scenery as well, and Grace Jones.
You're out of your depth, Mr. Bond. That whole character of Mortner, the mad scientist who is his father, Frankenstein kind of thing, was kind of weird for me. But I did love Tibbets, which was they brought Patrick McNee.
Yes, I was going to mention
to help him on this mission. And he's playing his chauffeur in it. And there's a lot of comedy shtick going on there, where he makes him wash the car again and again and all,
Yeah.
Tibbets. It was Tibbets.
Yeah.
And they know they're being listened to. So, he just treats him like shit. Tibbets, you forgot to do this. And the bodyguards, the thugs are even like, wow, I'd hate to be that guy.
Right? And Patrick Renee doing that. I was John Steed, for fuck's sake.
That's it. Yeah, they brought John Steed together with James Bond.
I know. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway.
And another great snow sequence at the beginning. Some people didn't like it. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was okay.
I didn't like the Beach Boys tune and the snowboarding kind of thing, but
see that
But having to break off the ski that was blown up and having to break it off and go down on one ski was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean the stunt work is always on point. I mean, it's awesome. But yeah, then they have to throw in a little silly, like, oh, let's throw in some Beach Boys because it's just so. But
it's like the Tarzan yelling Octopussy.
Did that in almost all the movies.
Yeah, the Tarzan yelling Octopussy and.
Yeah, just these.
They build up all that tension, and then it's like, let's do something comical.
Yeah,
I sound like Norm Macdonald. We're gonna do something comical. James Bond, comical.
Yeah.
So that was your number 3. Okay.
That was my number 3.
Okay. And my number 3 was For Your Eyes Only. Which, again, like you said, great cast. Even the smaller characters in the film are actually pretty cool.
It appears Mr. Penland has been taken out.
They had gotten so silly with Moonraker, it had gotten so over the top that it was a kind of a let's bring it back to reality. And I forgot to mention this. Brian Who Loved Me brought us back Walter Gotell, who ends up playing
General Gogol.
General Gogol. Yeah, the Russian, and they've decided he is such an interesting character. We'll bring him back for more films, and he did. He did like 4 or 5 other movies as General Gogol, and For Your Eyes Only is one of them. At the very end, he tosses the thing over the side of the cliff, and it smashes, and Gogol just goes, walks back to his helicopter.
Didn't have any. Yeah,
Not shoot him.
Yeah, he was in Spy Who Loved Me, and another one.
He was in A View to a Kill.
View to a Kill.
I'm sorry.
No.
The Living Daylights. He was in The Living Daylights as Gogol.
Right. Yeah.
At the end. I want to say there's something else. Octopussy. He catches the guy that's making the fake Fabergé eggs and things.
Right.
And the Romanov star.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was one of those really good recurring characters.
Gogol's cool. But he was actually in From Russia with Love as the trainer at Spectre Island. And gets blown up with the boats that Sean Connery blows up in that one scene by knocking the canisters of gas over the back of the boat. Yeah. That was his first Bond.
So they brought him back. Yeah.
They brought him back. All right, what's your number 4?
So my number 4 is Octopussy. We already talked about.
Okay.
One of my favorite scenes is when one of the henchmen, one of the assassins, is trying to kill him with this blade, and he's
the yo-yo blade. Yes.
The yo-yo blade. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That was cool. Now, is that the same one?
But he luckily hit in an alligator. That was kind of silly.
Yeah. See, again, they always have that one. That throw in that little weird silliness. Now, I'm probably mixing up movies now, but there's one where they're attacking them from a helicopter with a blade. It's like a tree trimming thing. They're chopping.
Oh yeah.
But that's
The World Is Not Enough.
So that was a Brosnan one. Okay.
Yeah, that was Brosnan.
Yeah, but no, this one had the yo-yo blade and it's like chops up the bed, and that was a really cool scene.
Indeed.
And
they actually kill VJ with that. His tennis partner.
Yeah.
They got a real tennis player, VJ Armitage, to be his sidekick.
Right. Yeah.
And at that point, they were starting to kill those guys off. I mean, in A View to a Kill, they kill off Tibbets and I want to say that who's the Asian? He was also in one of the Indiana Jones films.
Oh,
and he was a detective on British television as well.
Yeah,
David Yip, I think, played a character in San Francisco. I think they kill him too.
Yeah,
if memory serves me correct.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were very willing to just kill off different characters.
Gotta make them feel sorry because we lost somebody. Sometimes it was girls, but sometimes it was sidekicks. Okay, my number 4 was Live and Let Die. Ball, live and let die. The one thing, I'm a huge John Barry fan.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I like the James Bond theme in this by George Martin, his version of it, I feel that the soundtrack is just so compared to what we got in other Bond films. I like the fact that they decided to go kind of blaxploitation because that was different, from any other Bond. And again, we got Yaphet Kotto as Mr. Big / Kananga.
Mm-hmm.
This has very little to do with the original book. As a matter of fact, the keel haul scene from For Your Eyes Only is actually from Live and Let Die, the book. Teehee is totally a new character. He was thrown in as a henchman. Baron Samedi was totally created for the movie. He was nowhere in it. I mean, again, Mankiewicz, the writer, just kind of took a lot of free reign and created his own thing. He had done Diamonds Are Forever, and they were happy with it, so they let him do this one. They let him write the next one, Man with the Golden Gun, and then they decided to go with somebody else after.
Jonathan.
What's that?
Oh, Jonathan Duncan, his comment. When I think of Bond movies, I think automatically of Roger Moore. The best, in my opinion. Ryan O'Neal would have been awesome.
Ryan O'Neal would have been an awesome Bond.
Yeah.
Let's give credit where credit is due. Respect.
Yes, exactly.
And ironically, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think of Ryan O'Neal. I was thinking about him literally like just 2 hours ago. I think about him every day. I've read his memoirs. Like I
in
love
my life. I make fun of Sinbad, and then we find out that he's ill.
I know.
I make fun of Ryan O'Neal, and he passes like 2 weeks later. I mean, this is my life.
I feel bad. I know. I do take personal responsibility.
It's karma. It's karma.
I have to take personal responsibility for this.
Yeah, you were mentioning the music, and that's one thing I noticed about the Roger Moore era was that had different composers. It was of course John Barry. He's just classic, but this one had different composers. You have Bill Conti doing the music for For Your Eyes Only. Marvin Hamlish did a track,
right?
Or did and others.
Hamlish actually brought back the guitar Bond for Spy Who Loved Me, which I loved that when I was a kid watching that movie. I was like, oh, that is so cool.
Yeah,
he's got his own theme song. He's riding that camera
the
with
monitor,
the missile piece.
And then it kicks in. Yeah,
and I'm like, oh my god, that's cool.
Yeah,
coming out of the water with the submarine car. So yeah, we missed that because Barry actually went full orchestra on the Bond theme for Man with the Golden Gun, and later also with Moonraker and A View to a Kill. So and Octopussy.
Yeah. And speaking of which, for me, this again, one of the positive things about the Roger Moore era is I think they had some of the best theme songs in this one. I mean, you already talked about, right from the beginning with Live and Let Die. I mean, Paul McCartney and Wings. It's a little bit more rock and roll in this period.
And again, I have to think that McCartney's pull was what got Barry bumped and got George Martin put in to do the soundtrack.
Right. Yeah.
Because again, Barry was back for Man with the Golden Gun. I think I read somewhere that he was working on another score for another movie when it came time to do Spy Who Loved Me. And Hamlish was big at the time because he had just done The Sting.
The Sting, right? Yeah.
Right. So, and again, there was another conflict for Your Eyes Only. You know, he was working on a lot of. I mean, he was a very busy composer. You know, at that time, because I mean, he had won Academy Awards for Born Free. He had won Academy Awards for the Lion and Winter. So, but the one that I could never find a story on why he wasn't there was Live and Let Die. And I got to think it's because of McCartney. Oh, you want me to do the song? Okay, well, you got to give George Martin. he probably said, you got to give George Martin the score then. And, you know, and we'll do the song together, the lead song together. And that's how that probably went down.
Yeah, maybe so.
I guess. That's my hypothesis.
But yeah, I love the themes. I mean, whatever the quality of the movie is, whether you think it's great or whether you think it's the theme songs were always just super. Yeah. And like I said, and then also, you had also the romantic ones, like, Carly Simon and Vita Coolidge.
Yeah.
Now Lulu, her theme for Man with the Golden Gun,
Yeah.
I always think, I mean, it sounds very Shirley Bassey like. You know, it's like she was
Yeah.
channeling Shirley Bassey, had that very brassy
Yeah.
kind of, which is great. And you get Duran Duran, which is one of my favorite ones. Their theme through View to a Kill, that one and Live and Let Die are probably two of my favorites. And so yeah, so that's I mean, some of the
Well,
early
again,
ones,
they
the
like to
Connery
go with
ones are
who's
good too,
popular
but
at the time, who's at the top of the pop charts at the time. So,
right.
yeah, that was a smart move, and that was probably Michael G. Wilson. And said, okay, if we're gonna get a theme song, we got to get who's popular, because they went back to do Shirley Bassey with Moonraker, and it tanked. It was like it was just no, it's not when they're not buying it.
Yeah, that's the only, and it's a shame because I love Shirley Bassey, and of course, Goldfinger
Yeah,
is
she's
probably
great.
the gold the gold standard of Bond themes.
She's done three.
Yeah,
That's more than
her
anybody
version of
else.
Moonraker,
But Diamonds Are Forever wasn't a huge
and
hit.
Diamonds Are Forever,
Yeah, and Moonraker wasn't a huge hit. So I mean, as far as the song, the theme song. So yeah, I mean,
which is a
they're
shame.
giving her respect, they're giving her a nod, but yeah, the next one was Live and Let Die, and it had to be Paul McCartney, in Wings,
Yeah.
And again, after Spy Who Loved Me and Carly Simon, they went ahead and gave her a nod again, but it didn't work, and so they got Sheena Easton, and Easton is I want to say she's the only performer that was actually in the opening credits. The Maurice Binder, did the opening credits for the Bond movies.
Right.
With all the women swimming around and whatever the theme of the movie was, they put it in the opening credits,
Right.
and she's
naked
so
women
beautiful.
in silhouette. Oh yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I think she's the only one.
I think so. I have this, and I think, I think it's maybe, like I said, the Mandela effect. I want to say that Adele was in the opening of, but I don't think so. I think it's just her voice. No, I think Sheena Easton. Yeah, it's the only one who's ever
I don't
actually
think
been
Adele
on
was in the
screen.
opening credits. I don't remember her being.
Yeah, she's the only
if
one
she
who
was,
actually
I
is.
didn't see her.
No, I think
and again, I want to say Billie Eilish was, but no, I saw a video of Billie Eilish singing the song.
No, Billie Eilish,
and she wasn't in the actual opening credits of
Sheena. And I wonder if that was again something contractual. If she said, yeah, I'll do the theme, but I've got to be on screen.
Are you talking about Sheena Easton?
Yeah, like why is she the only
I
one?
think I heard a story, or I think somebody talked about it on a talk show, that Maurice Binder was the one that made that happen, because he saw her and he's like, oh my God, she's beautiful. Can I put her in the opening credits? And they'd never done it before, so they allowed it.
Yeah.
And
it worked.
Yeah. As a result, no, that actually happened before. There was, I don't know if you remember the Donnie and Marie show, but they did a James Bond thing, and Marie Osmond actually was singing the theme song, Rhinestone Finger. Glenn Campbell was the guest on the show, and it was Rhinestone Finger. You can probably find this on YouTube. It's really hysterically bad. It's very, very, very corny. But yeah, she's actually in a fake opening credit to Rhinestone Finger singing.
I gotta see that.
Look it up.
Yeah. I
And of course, Campbell comes out and he goes, "I'm Rhinestone Finger." That's like the best part of the skit.
Like a rhinestone finger.
Exactly.
God.
He does that.
Oh my God. Yeah, definitely got it. Yeah.
Anyway,
see that.
We digress.
But we digress. Yeah.
So what's your
I
number
just wanted
5?
to mention that. So my number 5 is Live and Let Die.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's.
By the way, David Hedison, great Felix Leiter.
Yes,
he was fresh off of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. He was a really good Felix Leiter, and the only guy to play Felix Leiter. Oh no, I take that back. I can't say that anymore, because on the
Terrence
last
Howard.
few Bond films. Yeah, they cast the same guy.
Yeah.
But he was the first one to come back as Felix Leiter again in License to Kill.
Right.
Right. Gosh, what, 20 years after?
Yeah. And he looked
Yeah,
the same.
he looked
He
good.
really
Yeah,
did. He looked pretty much, frozen in time. Yeah, he still
a little
looks.
grayer, but it looked
Oh
good.
yeah,
He looked
yeah,
good.
but he looked good. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. Before Terrence Howard took over as Leiter in the Daniel Craig
No,
movies.
I'm sorry. No, it wasn't
Was that
Terrence
not
Howard.
Terrence Howard? Uh,
He's in the Marvel universe in the Thor movies too. I can't remember who it is.
let's look it up.
Yeah, somebody can
uh,
look it up on Facebook. I'm sorry, not Facebook.
let's see.
On IMDb.
Um,
In any case, Wright. His last name is Wright, I think.
yeah. Yes.
Okay, so my fifth one was Man with a Golden Gun. Christopher Lee, Britt Eklund. In the movie Hervé, My Dinner with Hervé, he was saying that Britt Eklund was a real big pain in the ass on the set. Which is funny. And Roger Moore was just a great guy, a lot of fun, and they evidently yucked it up together on set. An interesting film, because again, it's very different from the other Bond films. It's the only pre-credit scene. They always do a pre-credit scene, which is kind of a little mini adventure with Bond. It's the only one where Roger Moore is only in it the last few seconds as a wax dummy.
Right. Yeah.
In Scaramanga's Funhouse. It's all about Christopher Lee squaring off with some gangster that Hervé has hired to try to kill him. And that's how he keeps. It's like Inspector Clouseau and Kato. Attack me whenever and whenever and wherever
Basically,
you can.
yeah.
And don't tell me. I want to keep on my toes. So they were kind of doing a nod to that.
Yeah. Well, I think they wanted to give Christopher Lee a lot more screen time.
It's an interesting opening credit. It's an interesting opening thing.
Yeah.
Opening credit before we get to the the credits. And Lee's performance is just one of the best of his career. The story is a little thin, a little weak with the Solex thing.
Solex agitator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dinner scene is pure candy. It's pure gold. Where Bond squares off with him at the dinner table when he realizes he's trapped on the island, and Britt Eklund is there in a bikini at the table.
Which is basically what she was there for.
Clifton
the
James
Bond girls in
coming
this
back
one.
as the sheriff was a stretch.
That
was the one bad thing I think about that movie. Is why? Come on, why? It was funny in the first movie.
Yeah.
Sheriff Culpepper.
Pepper. Just J.W. Pepper.
J.W. Culpepper.
Yeah.
He just happens to be on vacation in Thailand.
Yeah.
When Bond is there trying to find the Solex agitator.
And it's one of those embarrassing things. You're like, okay, all right, it was the 70s, but still, it's just awful. I mean, the character is just completely unnecessary.
Now, I wanted to say they did that because the sheriff character that Jackie Gleason did in Smokey and the Bandit, but he came later. They were actually doing the Bond thing. They were ripping off the Bond thing because Smokey and the Bandit was again, Man with the Golden Gun was 74, right?
Yeah.
And I guess Live and Let Die was 72 or 73 the year before. They were usually doing one a year or one every other year. So again, I think Bandit came like in 75, right? Or 76. So they were actually ripping off James Bond.
Yeah.
Sheriff Cole, Sheriff Joe Cole. what the hell was his name in that? No, not Roscoe. That was the other
No,
guy.
that was
James Best
yeah,
from the Dukes of Hazzard.
that was Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah.
Bone bitch.
Oh, Justice. Buford T. Justice.
Buford T. Justice. There we go. Buford T. Justice.
Buford T. Justice. There's no way that you came from my loins.
So
Well, this
my
is
honorable mentions, we've talked about a Moonraker, A View to a Kill. We talked about My Dinner with Hervé. That deserved a mention, and we got it. And Cannonball Run, which is, I think it's just hysterical to me.
Yeah.
It just makes me giggle.
Yeah, I had Man with a Golden Gun on my top 5 list, but I went back and watched it and was like, it's really not as good as I remembered it. It's way too long.
It's a weak Bond. It is.
It's one of the weaker ones.
But it's got Christopher Lee, so it had to make my top 5 because it had Christopher Lee.
That's the only thing that would have. Yeah, Christopher Lee. Now it has one of the best practical car stunts ever.
Yeah.
When he hits the
when he rolls
AMC,
it, flipping from ramp to ramp.
on the that was brilliant. I'm like,
yeah.
See, the Fast and Furious movies with all their CGI cars, practical. It was awesome.
And then they ruined it for many people because they did a slide whistle.
Yes. And then they had to add exactly.
And then Culpepper going, yeah, I've never done that before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
great scene.
Silliness.
Yeah. And of course, again, one of the sponsors of the movie or whatever was AMC Motors.
Yes,
it's
there were all AMC cars in that film.
All the AMC cars, and the one that winds up with the wings that flies.
That was a model.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
That was quite obviously a model.
A little RC plane, but yeah. But that stunt was really cool.
Are we getting a cameo?
We have a cameo from my doggy.
We have a dog cameo.
Yeah. Who's making that noise? Yes, that's you, Maisie. That's you. You're on the TV.
2 guys and a dog talking about movies. 2 guys and a dog.
Sorry, Renee, you've been replaced.
Hey, look, I cannot compete with that level of charisma, adorability. I mean, just look at that. Look, oh my gosh. And the noise he was making, I thought you were doing that, Manny, to be funny. I didn't even realize it was really him or her. Wait.
That was actually Rory, but
are you serious?
She's done a little whining before.
I was doing the noise.
Oh, okay.
No, that's why I had her out. I didn't want her whining. So she's in her favorite position, her favorite. Yeah.
She's there with Daddy. Look at that. Very happy. Very happy to be with Daddy on the show.
Yeah, she's gotta be stuck to me like. But anyway.
Okay, so next week we're going to do Denzel.
Yep.
I'll have time to skim through those 40 movies.
And speaking of Roger Moore, now there was one movie that he did. You've been talking about how it did kind of a James Bondy, other movies that were sort
James
of very similar Bond.
Bondian.
Is
that the adjective?
He did this movie called Folks.
Okay, yeah. He's a cat
person
in that.
Yeah, and it's very, very much James Bond. And I think he even had like a Scottish accent. It's like he was doing
I haven't seen that movie in forever, but I remember Anthony Perkins was in it. He was the bad guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's got, I think James Mason is in it.
I believe so. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it too.
Yeah.
It had this weird spelling, like 2 F's, and nobody could ever how do you pronounce it? Like
folks.
Yeah.
Hello, folks.
Exactly.
JD is asking if we've done Anthony Hopkins yet.
No, we haven't.
Oh, we have not.
No, we'll. Yeah, we're getting there.
We're saving that one for Mother's Day.
Yeah. We all go a little mad sometimes. Yeah.
Damn it!
Wouldn't hurt a fly. Hey, wouldn't hurt a fly.
I'll be with you in a minute, Mother. I'm on social media. Damn it!
Aw, man. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, we'll have to do that sometime soon. He's got a lot of good stuff too.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of good stuff.
All right. Well, Miss Renee, you want to play us out? You have any concluding words?
Talk a little bit about your dog for a minute, just because I think there's some interest, and I think this is like the co-star that we've all been waiting for.
She's a mini pin.
A mini what? A mini what?
Mini pincher.
Oh, pincher. Okay.
She's a mix. It's Chihuahua and mini pincher.
I was about to say I see some Chihuahua in there.
I see the Chihuahua part. Yeah.
So that's why she's so
Chihuahua pincher.
Yep.
I didn't know that there was a Chihuahua pincher, a chin pin.
A chin pin, yeah.
It's a chin pin.
That's
the linchpin of the chin.
Yes, they're talking about you. Yes, everybody. You're
turning away now. They're talking about me. Every time we talk about her, she turns away.
I know.
Like she's pissed.
She's a lady.
Stop talking about me. She's shy.
Okay. All right. Now I'll play us out. That was a good note to end on. All right. Good night, everybody.
It's the boy.
See you next time.
Bye.
Adios. Thanks for watching this episode of Two Guys and Sometimes a Gal Talking About Movies. Be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell to get future episodes.